Hey guys, it's Shaylin and I'm here today with another writing video. Today's video is about NaNoWriMo. This is going to be my yearly contribution to the NaNoWriMo community. For a little bit of historical context, I'll keep this really brief. I did NaNoWriMo from 2010 to 2014. I started off doing the Young Writers program because I was like 13. I think I did 2 years of that with a shorter word count. Then I did 3 years of the 50,000. I won every year that I did NaNoWriMo. And it was truly the thing that made me feel alive every November. And then life changed. I started college and I kind of stopped doing NaNoWriMo. And I haven't done it since because my writing process has really changed and it doesn't really accommodate NaNoWriMo that well anymore. However, a series of events this year have led me to think about some alternate NaNoWriMo options. I really, on this channel, am a big proponent of doing what works best for you, finding the writing process that works best for you, even if it breaks rules, even if it's bad practice, even if it's unconventional. It doesn't really matter as long as it works for you. And obviously NaNoWriMo is like a community event that has a specific set goal, but I don't think that means that you shouldn't modify it to best suit you. Unrelated to NaNoWriMo, I wanted to do a write every day for a month challenge, and the reason I was thinking of doing that wasn't even for productivity reasons. I'm still planning on doing that, but it's because I wanted to try it for a video and see what the takeaways were and what the benefits and drawbacks of writing every day are, because I don't typically write every day. And then I realized that November was going to be the best time for me to do that, and I was like, oh, it's going to feel like I'm doing a little NaNoWriMo. And so then I kind of got thinking about what some alternate NaNoWriMo options that you could do are. If you want to do NaNoWriMo, but maybe the typical conventions and setup of NaNoWriMo just don't work for you, because that's valid. NaNoWriMo is great. It was so important to my development as a writer. If you're interested, I say do it. But writing process is certainly not one size fits all. A challenge where the goal is to write 50,000 words in a month also certainly isn't going to be possible, accessible, or enjoyable, or practical, or even useful for everyone. The thing I miss the most about NaNoWriMo is the community aspect, you know? Ever since I stopped doing NaNoWriMo, I would see people talk about it every November and I'd get really nostalgic and I'd be like, oh man, I wish I could do NaNoWriMo. And so I was kind of thinking about ways that you could modify NaNoWriMo to best suit you, so you can still participate. None of this is groundbreaking. I thought of these 5 different options, and I think that they might be good options for someone who maybe wants to do NaNoWriMo for that community aspect, for the challenge of it, but maybe the actual framework of NaNoWriMo isn't gonna work for them. So the first one is to just set a challenge to write every day. This is the option that this all started with, because I was thinking of doing a write every day in November challenge, which I think I'm still gonna do. That's my plan, but to just have no word goal. The goal is just as long as you write every day, doesn't matter how much, it could be 1 sentence or it could be 7,000 words. It doesn't matter as long as you write every day. I think it could be a great option if you just want to maybe boost your productivity, but you don't want to have kind of like a clear-cut number of what's going to be considered a pass or a fail, because I do think that's one thing about NaNoWriMo, is it sets a very defined limit of what is succeeding and what is failing, and for some people that's great. That was something that really pushed me back when I did Nano, but it's not great for everyone. Lots of people don't work well within those kinds of hard numbers and goals. So I think one great way to kind of get the same benefit of NaNoWriMo, which is that burst of productivity, you just keep moving forward, you don't look back, would be to just set the goal to just write every day without maybe putting yourself in a place where you need to overwork yourself if the 50,000 is just not achievable. I know even if I write every day in a month, I probably wouldn't write 50,000 words. So I think that this is a great option. NaNoEditMo, we'll call this one. So the second option would be to set a goal to just write a short story a week. NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is not that conducive to short fiction. And back when I did NaNoWriMo, it was before I started writing short fiction, so I'd never really thought about that. Part of the reason I didn't do NaNoWriMo for a couple years, there were a lot of reasons. But part of the reason is I was primarily working on short stories, and short fiction is not that conducive to writing 50,000 words in a month. I thought a great way to adapt NaNoWriMo to someone who's maybe working on a collection is to just set the goal of writing a short story a week, and then you'd emerge from the month with 4 short story drafts. That's like about a quarter of a collection, give or take. So you can make a ton of progress if you're working on a collection by setting out to write a short story a week. If you needed more of a break one week, you could do 3 longer stories and then 1 week just aim for a shorter one that's only like 1,000 words. It would be a great way to make a lot of progress while still adapting NaNoWriMo to your project. Similar to that would be NaPoWriMo, which would be writing a poem a day. Now, I don't want to take credit for this. I believe this is an actual thing that people do. I remember hearing people talk about it. Maybe I don't know if people would do it in November or if there was another month that was like National Poetry Writing Month, but essentially the goal is to just write a poem a day. I also think that this is a great option because you could really modify it based on how you're feeling that day. If you're feeling really inspired and you want to write a ton, you could write like a longer poem. If you're like, I just don't feel like writing much, you could just write a really brief poem, just kind of as an exercise, as a bit of thought dump, and move on. It could take you 5 minutes or it could take you 5 hours, depending on how much energy you have to invest in the writing that day. Kind of the same as writing every day. Setting that goal to write every day could be you just invest as much energy as you have that day, as long as you invest something, even if it's just 1 sentence. And this would kind of be the same thing, just for someone who writes poetry. I also think this is a great option if you're like new to poetry and you want to find your footing in poetry. I think a great way to do that is to set a goal to write poetry consistently, to get in the habit. You will learn so much. Or maybe you like have a chapbook you want to write. You could get a whole chapbook done in just 1 month by writing 1 poem a day. So I think this is a really cool option. You probably won't get anywhere near to 50,000 words, but 30 poems is not half bad. So the next option would just be to do a half NaNoWriMo or a quarter NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo, maybe. I thought of this because I know a lot of people are doing Millwordy, which is a writing challenge where you write 1,000,000 words in a year, which is insane. I could never. To the people who are doing Millwordy, Godspeed. You are gods among men. You are so much more powerful than I will ever be. It's so much. 1,000,000 words. Last year I only wrote like 120,000 words. And to me, that was a great year. I was like, man, I wrote so much. I wrote like 100K in a year. I would have to increase my productivity tenfold to do Millwordy. So anyone doing Millwordy, all the power to you. But I have seen a lot of people doing half Millwordy, where you just do 500,000 words, just as if that's also not a ton, as if that's still 5 times more than I wrote last year. But you could apply the same principle to NaNoWriMo. Say you want to do Nano, but that 50K word limit just seems like a bit much. Because let's be honest, it's a lot. Just do a half. Just set your goal for 25,000, or you could set it for a quarter, whatever a quarter of 50,000 is. I don't even know. I have a BFA. Your daily workout would only be 833 words. That's super doable. Or if you wanted to do a quarter, it would only be 420. Having or quartering or whatevering NaNoWriMo is a great way to kind of participate as normal, just with a word count goal that's more realistic for you. And then the final option would be to do NaNoEditMo, which is exactly what it sounds like, and it would just be editing for the month, setting an editing goal rather than a writing goal. Another reason why there were years that I haven't done NaNoWriMo is because I was editing a project at the time rather than drafting one, and NaNoWriMo is set up for drafting. That's the point, is to get a first draft done. But if you're editing, sometimes for me, I require more of a push to motivate myself to edit than I do to draft, because editing is sometimes not as fun. I think building a consistent habit is a great way to get through the editing portion of a book. For me, more so than when I'm drafting. When I'm drafting, I might be really sporadic because the creativity is kind of up and down. But with editing, you don't really need to be having a good creative day. It's pretty straightforward what you need to get done. The words are already written. You just have to revise them. Productivity challenge like NaNoWriMo is a really great way to get editing work done. Even though it's designed for drafting, I think you could easily apply the same time frame. All you would have to do is pick how many pages you want to edit and break it down based on how many pages that's going to be per day and move on from there. So depends on your draft. You would have to calculate this yourself. You could base it based on just how many pages your book is and just kind of divide that by 30. And if that's realistic, work from there. Or you could see how many pages you want to edit per day and see how much you'll get done in 30 days. You do the math based on your own book, and editing NaNoWriMo is a great option if you want to do NaNoWriMo, but you're just not at the drafting stage of the process. That's all I have for this video. So this is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. There's nothing like groundbreaking or ingenious here. I just thought I would share because I'm kind of side participating in NaNoWriMo this year. I don't know if I'm gonna like make an account on NaNoWriMo and like see if I don't know. Part of me is like, I'm awful, where it's like I don't want to like make a profile if I don't think I'm gonna win, which is so bad. This year I'm doing a Write Everyday challenge for November. If you want to join me in that, that would be awesome. In the end, NaNoWriMo is for you. It's not a competition, it's a challenge, and if the constraints of the challenge don't benefit you, sure, you could just not do NaNoWriMo, or you can modify it to make it work for you. It's all about making things work for you. There's literally nothing wrong with kind of changing the rules a little to benefit you. That's why this is here. NaNoWriMo is here to help you. That's why it exists. And so if you have to modify a little to help you, why not? So that's probably the only video I'm gonna make on NaNoWriMo this year. I do have a video from last year breaking down reasons to do or not do NaNoWriMo, so I'll leave that in the cards if you want to check it out. Let me know if you're doing Nano this year, and maybe try to convince me to actually set up a NaNoWriMo profile. I'm not sure. It depends. It depends. It depends. We'll see. I'm sure there are also other ways, many other ways you could modify Nano that I didn't think of. So tell me all about it in the comments. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an ask on Tumblr, and I'll see you in another video.